AWS Vault is an open source tool written in Golang and maintained by 99 Designs. It elegantly solves a number of UX and security issues around using AWS security credentials. AWS Vault especially shines when you need to manage access to multiple AWS accounts because it uses your operating system's keyring or secret storage service to store your permanent credentials and then contacts AWS's security token service, or STS for short, to obtain temporary credentials. In most cases, these temporary credentials are what AWS Vault is passing into any subsequent commands that you invoke. In other words, AWS Vault is a free tool that improves both the usability and security story around AWS credentials. AWS Vault also handles integration with AWS Multi Factor Authentication, or MFA devices. This means that you can still manage multiple different AWS accounts, each secured by a separate MFA device if you wish. When you run commands, AWS Vault prompts you for your MFA token from your device and handles feeding that into the subsequent AWS API calls to obtain your temporary credentials. In general, AWS Vault feels like a better way to do things than the default .aws config file that AWS recommends. Here's a quick demonstration of using AWS Vault to obtain temporary credentials to my test account, which I then pass into a call to the AWS command line interface to ask the security token service endpoint who I am. AWS returns my expected IAM user. This means that I was able to set up access for my IAM user in a way that is highly scriptable and easy to execute many times per day in a hurry. Meanwhile, AWS Vault is adding another layer of protection by requesting temporary credentials from STS. This is great because I no longer have to pass my actual permanent credentials around in various scripts and utilities. If my credentials are compromised, the blast radius is reduced because these are not my permanent AWS key and secret. Now that we have an easy means of fetching temporary AWS credentials to any account whenever we want, we can combine this with the AWS command line interface for a full power user interface directly into your AWS account. In this case, I'll list all the S3 buckets in my account. AWS Vault can also instantly hop you directly into the AWS web console for any given account with the AWS Vault login command. This is extremely useful if you spend even part of your day debugging various AWS accounts. Here's a special trick to allow you to quickly log into more than one AWS account at the same time. If you pass the -s flag to the AWS Vault login command, you'll get the login URL for your AWS account's console printed to standard out instead of opened. You can then copy it and paste it into Firefox container tabs to log into as many AWS accounts simultaneously as you wish. Firefox container tabs provide isolation across cookies and other application storage, so from the perspective of AWS, these are separate console sessions. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.